On a whim this morning, I decided to do some potentially cruel and unusual punishment, and that is force myself to read as many pages every day in this reading vlog as a random wheel spinner tells me to. I've seen multiple creators do this video before, and I was thinking of an idea for a reading vlog this week, and this is what came to mind. So definitely shout out to those other creators who have come up with this idea in the past. But I pulled up Wheel of Names, the website, on my phone, and I currently have 16 different numbers ranging from the number 50 to 200 as the page count options for this week. I thought that 50 was enough to still make myself read a significant amount every day so that I have a little bit of wiggle room whenever I am busy but still have time to read. And then 200 is honestly like, I wouldn't even say the max that I read every day, because I've done like 24-hour reading challenges where I read like hundreds of pages every day, but I definitely on a daily basis do not read 200 pages. So that will be a little bit of a struggle if I get one of those higher numbers. But yeah, we're just gonna let the wheel, the magic wheel, make the decision for us. So let's just tap it and see what we get. I think you're gonna see before I will. Hopefully it's a low number. You're joking. Of course, it literally gave me the highest number on the first day. Well, I guess I'm gonna be reading or trying to read 200 pages today. I'm not gonna prep myself for failure. We're gonna do our best. A little bit in shock, but that's fine. I guess that's fine. As far as the reading options, I actually started 2 books last night. I was thinking to myself, I wanted to pick up another fantasy-ish book, and I had 2 options I was thinking about on my physical TBR, so I read about 30 pages of each to try to see which one I would have preferred to pick up. The first book I chose was One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. This has been on my physical TBR for at least 8 months now. It's been kind of a hot second. Not as long as other books, but still I need to pick this one up. I know everyone loves this series, and Rachel has a new book coming out this month, I think, so I want to read her duology before The Night and the Moth comes out. But I started it, read about 30 pages last night, and I was honestly not even falling asleep because of the book. I was falling asleep because I was tired, but this book was not getting me super engaged at the very beginning, so I put this one down, and then I picked up Silver Elite by Danny Francis, and this one hooked me a little more. This is more of a dystopian. By the way, I don't think I really explained because this one's more popular, but this is a gothic fantasy about magic with like these cards. This is similar to how romantasy is fantasy and romance. This is like dystopian and romance put together, at least from what I've heard, and this is a new release. It's my book of the month pick for May, and yeah, I picked this one up and it was much more fast-paced than One Dark Window, so I kind of have been sticking with this one so far. And what's great is that the audiobook is on Spotify, and I have a couple hours left before they renew for the month of May. So I think I'm going to be reading this one today. Hopefully I can get through 200 pages. Absolutely insane pull on our first day, but I think I'm going to listen to the audiobook in the car because I'm going to head out right now. I'm going to go to Half Price Books. I have a couple textbooks that I used in my most recent semester that I want to go sell, and also I have a stack of books that I have unhauled from my bookshelf organization that I did last weekend. Anyway, wish me luck with this 200 page count because the wheel did me dirty. It's raining outside, but I'm in the parking lot outside of Half Price Books, so I hope that you can hear me well enough because I wanted to do a quick little haul. I wasn't really planning on buying anything. I just wanted to sell my books, and I have a long enough physical TBR list that I'm trying to just read the physical books that I have before I buy new ones to read. But I excused this purchase because I already have read these books, so technically they're not going on my TBR shelf. They're just books that I wanted to have physical like copies of as like little prizes because I did read them last year, and that is The Serpent Serpent and the Wings of Night duology. So I got the first book as well as The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. I actually think this is called the Crowns of Nyaxia duology. This series, I've only read 2 books and the novella out of, but it's so good. I was debating doing a reread of these, at least the first one, because I really liked it and I listened to an audiobook, and again, I have the physical now, and for some reason, whenever I read something once digitally, either an audiobook or on my Kindle, and then I get the physical copy, I'm always intrigued to reread the copy just physically. I don't know, I may do a reread, I may not. I still need to read the newest book, book 3, because it came out, I don't know, like months ago. I'm honestly late on reading it. I think it came out like last year. But yeah, I need to catch up on this series because Carissa Broadbent has really good writing, and I also want to read her other series, which is the, was it Daughter of No Worlds? I'll put the picture on the screen so you can see it. But yeah, these are the 2 purchases that I made. Technically together, they are both $10, but since I sold my books, it was, instead of 20, it was like $7 or $8 because I could use the money that I sold my other books for. So yeah, honestly, I love half-price books because it's like a great transaction. I've been listening to the Silver Elite audiobook on the drive there. I'm going to do it on the drive back. Hopefully we can get to 200 pages today. I'm a little stressed, I'm not going to lie. All right, let's go home. Good morning. It is the next day. It's Wednesday, and I'm here to talk about Silver Elite and also spin the wheel for our next day of pages. So last night, believe it or not, or by the end of last night, I had read exactly 205 pages. I don't know how we did it. Started on page 35, and as of right now, I'm almost exactly 50. Wait, I read more than that. I'm on page 255 right now, and I started on page 35. So I actually read 220 pages. So talk about going above and beyond. Apparently you get me started and I couldn't stop. But yeah, I'm halfway through this book, 50%. And I do want to talk about Silver Elite because I know that this is a very controversial book on like Book Talk and online right now, because I've heard very mixed reviews. Some people think it's so much fun. They love the dystopian element that brings them back to like the 2013 era, you know, of dystopian, and they think that it's very fast paced. I do agree with those statements 100%. I think it reminds me of, you know, Divergent, and I did enjoy Divergent when I read it. It's very fast moving, but I also have critiques about it that I've also heard other people saying, in that there isn't much character development and it seems very, I don't know, I just don't feel like I'm very connected to it, if that makes sense. So to step back and talk about plot very briefly, this follows our main girl, Wren Darlington. She is what's called a silver blood. I always read books apparently of people who have magical powers if their blood runs silver. I mean, Red Queen, Powerless, and now this book. But yeah, she has powers. She has telepathy and mind reading powers, but you're not allowed to have them. Anyone who is a silver blood are being captured and killed off, and so she's been hiding her powers since she was the age of, I think it was 12. She eventually gets forced to join this program called Silver, I think it's Silver Block, Silver Elite being the highest and the best of the best in Silver Block, and these are like intense army training combat group that works for the general who was the one killing off the silver blood. So she's basically being trained to kill off the people that not only she is, but that also her friends and family are. And of course, there is the love interest being the commander of the silver block. Now, overall, this book on paper sounds great. It sounds like everything you want in a romantasy, but just given a more dystopian vibe. And after reading a lot of romantasy that can be a little bit repetitive, I do like leading into the more technology-based dystopian vibe than like fantastical world. But I've been thinking about it as I've been reading, and I just don't feel connected to our main character or any of the characters, really. Wren is very smart, allegedly. She has very strong powers. She is very good at mind reading and telepathy and those things. She can do it very quickly, and she's also trained in combat with knife throwing. And she also has spent her entire life acting and as a lie hiding her powers, and now that she's literally training with people who are trying to kill her, she also has to hide her powers even more. I get that, and I've read the not like other girls, the one with all the powers trope many times before. I mean, some of my favorite characters, like Aelin from Throne of Glass, is like that, right? She is the best of the best and super special. And I get that as a persona, it can be a little cocky, but like we all love to eat it up when we read it, and we always support the person to one length or another. But for some reason in this book, I just find Wren a bit annoying, and for some reason I'm not buying her whole I'm super talented, I'm better than everyone else thing. She says a lot in her inner monologue how, wow, I'm such a good actor, and wow, I proved that I could do this, and I hid this from them. And I mean, it's hard for her, but it's easy for me. It is getting really annoying. We can tell that you're good, obviously, because of the training that you went through and all that stuff. I don't want to be told by you multiple times, like you're trying to convince me how good you are. It's just very cocky and arrogant in my opinion. Maybe that's because the author hasn't been doing the work to give her more of a human side to her, give her more of a personality besides just being really impulsive and good at these things. Like, we've spent so much time focusing on her skills that we don't actually humanize her very much. I'm not going to spoil, but there are some times in this book where if I was her, I would be experiencing a lot of like grief and things, but she seems to move on from things very quickly emotion-wise, and obviously part of it is that she's tamping down her emotions on purpose, but I just feel like I don't feel connected to her because I'm getting all of the arrogance without the heart behind it. I don't know anything about her personality, and that's just it. So because of that, I feel a hard time supporting her, and I also don't feel the romance or the tension between her and the guy. Like, is he hot? Yes. Are they sexually attracted to each other? Yes. But is there like chemistry and like palpable romance? I don't really think so. Again, I'm halfway through. Those are my thoughts so far. We will see what happens with the rest of this. Anyway, so with that being said, I'm going to pull out my phone and let's go to the spinner wheel. So let's cross our fingers that today it's a little less than 200. I mean, I'm not going to repeat numbers, and 200 is obviously the highest on here, but I'm hoping that we get somewhere in the lower range today to give myself a break from yesterday. So let's do a little spin, and we got 160. Well, maybe it was my fault for putting higher numbers on here. You know what? I did 220 yesterday. I can definitely do 160 today. I think so. That's still kind of a high number, but you know, I did this to myself. I really did by making this video. So I hope you're properly entertained. I've been in a really weird mood these past couple days where I don't think I'm getting into a reading slump, especially with this challenge. I'm being forced to keep reading, so I guess I can't be in a reading slump, like physically. I want to read something good, but I don't know what's going to keep my attention. I've found many 5 stars already this month, and it's been really fun. But to be honest, I feel like my excitement for those 5 stars have not been to the extent of 5 stars in the past, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like my excitement for reading is a little bit just down in general recently. Yeah, I'm just hoping that I can find a book that, even if it's not like a 5-star level, that I'm just really enjoying and immersed in and want to come back to. Not that this like isn't, you know, exciting, but I'm just like really craving something that I don't know what that is yet. So cross our fingers so we can find it. So I have some book updates. Yesterday, my goal was to read 160 pages, and unfortunately, I'm here to say that I didn't quite reach that goal. I really tried. Trust me. That's a lie. Well, I did try. I read 100 pages yesterday, so I got a good amount read, but I didn't quite get the 160. And it's because, honestly, I have been struggling a bit with Silver Elite. There's been a lot of controversy about this book online. We've talked about that, and I'm really trying to give it the benefit of the doubt and give it its, you know, true shot and everything. But honestly, the more that I go through this book, the more that I'm realizing some of the people's critiques were right. I'm 60% of the way through. I'm on page 310. So I read about 55 pages of this yesterday, and then I read the other 45 in a different book. We'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, I'm like over halfway, and I just feel like this book is dragging quite a bit, and some of the issues have not been resolved that I talked about earlier. So honestly, for the past like 200 pages, we've been doing the same thing. She's training, she's in this silver block camp. You know, she's trying to become a recruit, but also become Silver Elite. But it's just been 200 pages of training, banter with friends and enemies, and also the commander, who I feel like has no chemistry at all with her. Like, they're trying so hard to write romance in this, but it's just forcing sexual encounters on us. I get what you're trying to do. but it's not working. I don't feel any connection to either Cross or Ren, and I don't feel their chemistry, their romance at all. And honestly, I feel like in general, the characters are just not intriguing to me. Like none of the characters in this book, I feel like I really am interested in at all. And that's my main problem, because for me, it's in order of importance for books, it goes characters, plot, and then like writing. I just feel like everyone's a little bit unlikable, you know? And so I'm not going to enjoy the book when the characters are unlikable. Also, as far as controversy goes with the writer, I didn't mention this in my last clip, but Danny Francis, people have been talking a lot online about if this is actually a pen name for, I mean, people say it's AI. I don't think it's AI, but people have been saying it's a pen name for potentially a non-debut author, which I don't have any problems with pen names in general. I mean, there are plenty of great authors who have had pen names before, but there's been a lot of like controversy online of we have never seen a single interview from Danny Francis, a single photo or video of this person. We are just being presented with this quote debut novel, and there's been a lot of talk about like maybe it's an author that we do know, like a big name. People have been saying this is written by like Colleen Hoover, which would be really funny, I think. Obviously, that would be problematic if it did turn out to be a big name author that is hiding under a fake name, but if it's just like a normal, regular, actual debut author, I mean, all of these are just like assumptions and alleged, you know, notions, then it's whatever, you know, not a big deal. But it is interesting about all the talks behind this book and its publishing and its marketing and all that stuff, besides the story as well. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't think it's working for me that much. I'm really disappointed by it, but because it hasn't really been working for me, yesterday, halfway through my reading, I decided I want to pick up something different. And that something different is This Woven Kingdom by Tahereh Mafi. This book has a really beautiful cover, but unfortunately, I think it's not being portrayed very well against all like the teal behind here. I just think that the gold is very pretty, but also if you take off the dust jacket, the naked hardback also has just a beautiful decoration on the spines. I'm gonna hold it like this because I like the spine. Anyway, this book was recommended to me by a booktuber. She was reading book 2 in the series, and since I have book 1 physically, I wanted to pick it up and go back and forth between this and Silver Elite. People describe this book as the Cinderella story, but like Persian inspired, so there's a lot more like Middle Eastern influence into this book. Tahereh Mafi is the same author that wrote the Shatter Me series, which I've never read, but obviously everyone hypes up that series. Everyone says it's so good. And so this is a YA fantasy romance. I have gotten to page 45 in this. My goal was to get to page 110 to get to my full 160 yesterday, but I ended up not doing that. So I'm not very far into this book, but I do want to note already that the writing style of Tahereh Mafi is very interesting. I really do like it. I don't even know how to explain it. She will just like write sentences, long, complicated sentences. Even though it's a YA book, it just seems like there's more like stylistic choices to what she's writing. Very often, especially in things like Silver Elite, we get really simple sentences and the focus is on the plot, but already in like 45 pages, I can tell that she puts a lot of emphasis into her words, her writing choices. Let me see if I can find a sentence that I thought was really well written. As a toddling child, Elise had once been so desperately cold, she crawled into the searing hearth on purpose. Of course, it had never occurred to her that she might be consumed by the blaze. She'd been but a babe, following an instinct to seek warmth. Elise couldn't have known then the singularity of her affliction, for so rare was the frost that grew inside her body that she stood in stark relief even among her own people, who were thought to be strange indeed. I feel like for a YA book, this is some good writing. Tahereh Mafi will like reorganize sentences to make them longer and more complex, and I really do like that because it makes me have to sit there and like actually think about the words more than just like reading them quickly and absorbing them. And I really do appreciate when you can tell an author has pride in their writing as well as their storytelling. So yeah, these are the 2 books I'm in the middle of, but before we do anything today, we do need to choose how many pages I read. And when I say choose, I mean the wheel, because the magic wheel is all powerful and I decided to let it control my entire life this week. So we are back at the Wheel of Names, and let's hope that she is a little nicer to me today and not pick a high number. Pretty please. Okay, we got 110. I feel like that's very manageable, very manageable. All right, so let's hope that we get a little further in one of these 2 today. Anyway, I will stop complaining. I've been yapping for a while. Let's get to reading. You are not going to like me for this, but I have officially DNF'd Silver Elite. I know. I'm a little bit sad but also I feel very justified in this decision. My only question is, am I DNFing solely because of this book, or is there also an element of I'm going into a book slump? Things to talk about. But first, this book. I DNF'd yesterday at 70%. I got to page, I think, 360. So I gave this book a very fair shot, in my opinion. I really think that DNFing, which by the way means did not finish, DNFing books should be a thing that we do more often. Out of the billions of books in the world, you shouldn't be forced to read a book or forcing yourself to read a book that you don't enjoy and you don't want to read. But of course, I want to give every book its fair shot. This has a lot of hype. A lot of people do enjoy this despite there being criticism for it. And like I said earlier in this video, on paper, this seems like a book that would work great for me. So I really didn't want to DNF it, but I was just getting to a point when I simply did not care. I don't like any of the characters, specifically the FMC and the MMC, like the two love interests. And this is dystopian romance, so we're supposed to really fall for both of the characters and see their chemistry. I didn't like either of them very much. Actually, I didn't like the guy at all. We've talked about this. So for that reason, I was just like, I literally am going mad because this book is annoying me so much, I have to stop reading. So what I did, because I've heard that the last like 100 pages of this book is like mind-boggling, like crazy plot twist, but I didn't know if I could make it the next 150 pages to get there and actually finish it. And so what I did was I officially DNF'd this, marked it on Goodreads, and then I went to one of my favorite YouTubers, Carrie Can Read, and listened to her entire video where she read and reviewed this book all the way through. So I know what happens at the end of this book. I heard all the plot twists, I know all the things that happens at the end, and honestly, after realizing those twists, I'm thankful that I didn't stick around, because I'm not going to spoil what happens, but number one, I didn't care. Like, after listening to her review of it, I was like, oh, okay, I don't care. I'm not gonna read the next book, I'm done. And also, I feel like there were a couple twists that she brought up that I feel were not even hinted at throughout the rest of the book. And if the plot twist was just put in the end for shock value, it annoys me so much because it's a sign of bad writing by just throwing in something crazy at the end to curveball the audience, instead of the very satisfying plot twists when you can tell that the entire book we've been leading up to this moment and now everything clicks because of the plot twist, if that makes sense. So I, after realizing what happens at the end of this book, am grateful that I didn't finish. I feel very confident in my decision that this is a very solid DNF for me. I'm going to give it 2 stars because, I mean, there is some element of this book. It's not like a 1-star hate this book. It isn't terrible, you know, it's really not terrible. It could work for other people, and it has worked for other people. The dystopian plot is a little iffy. I feel like it's very light on the dystopian. It's more just like mentioning, you know, technology and obviously a postmodern society system, that kind of thing. The purpose of dystopia, though, and people have talked about this online in regards to this book as well, is often a dystopian novel or dystopian genre is a commentary on our current society. And I really didn't get much like social commentary or political commentary in this book. It was really just, hey, there's a romance, but we also happen to be like fighting and using like technical terms. One last thing, I promise. I really don't want to rant too much because, again, I don't want to tarnish this book if you think it may work for you. Cross in this book, the love interest, has said some things in a couple scenes in this book that are very much questionable as far as like his beliefs in the society. Now, I don't want to spoil. I can't spoil. But let's just say that there are beliefs that he brings up that align with the villain and the enemy in this book, because he is the son of the villain. He is the leader of Silver Elite. But he is saying these beliefs that he has that he supposedly means that are siding with the enemy, and she is opposed to that. And from what I heard, from what Carrie said in the entire book, we never get a scene where he explains anything different. We have to assume that he still believes these things that the enemy believes, but she still like falls in love with him throughout the entire book, and there's no proof of him changing those beliefs. Like, basically, she's falling in love with someone who has verbally told her that he is very okay with killing her people, if that makes sense. On a just value morals level, you guys do not align, and therefore, how are you together? You know what I'm saying? Like, anyway, DNF, very confident in this decision. I need to move on with my life and read other books that are more intriguing to me. And speaking of, let's talk about this Woven Kingdom, which again, very, very shiny and reflective book. But I am on page 129. I read about 20 pages this morning. Oh, by the way, I did complete my goal of 110 pages yesterday. I read about 50 pages of this before I DNF'd, and then I read a little over 60 pages of this. Anyway, the mathed, okay? I don't know if I could even tell you the page count, but I got to page like 110 10 of this book last night, and then I read about 20 pages this morning as well. So I'm about 25% of the way through this book, and I did hit my goals yesterday, so that was really great. And let's talk about my thoughts with This Woven Kingdom. So I think I mentioned this is like the Cinderella story, but Persian inspired, and so far I can really see those like base story plot. Like, for example, she is a scullery maid. The guy in this book, the MMC, is the prince in this world. So, I'm seeing those bare bones. And honestly, I really do like fairy tale retellings because you can very clearly understand the setup for the story. There's no like really hard thinking behind it because it's a fairy tale that we all know and love very well. The setup of this book is a little slow. Our main characters, like a quarter of the way through, have still not met, but Elise is a scullery maid of this very big lady's house. There is, I think it's either the devil or a demon that like comes to her and speaks in riddles, and the last time that he did this, something very bad happened, and so he comes when she is in the attic of this house, Cinderella, and she doesn't want to hear him, but he says something very damning, and now she is like nervous for her life. So that's her setup. The guy's name is Cameron, I believe that's how you pronounce it, and he is the prince. So his father has passed away in the war, but his grandfather is the king, and his grandfather is telling him, hey, I'm not going to last here much longer. You are going to inherit the throne, the kingdom. We need you to get married. You just came back from going off on a very dangerous like trip adventure, because the problem with this kingdom is that they are running out of water. So what they do is they go off on these like very hard journeys and like gather water and these like, I don't know, containment things and bring them back. So he just came back from one of those journeys and he's like, I want to leave. I don't want to be here. I don't like this life. But my grandfather is telling me that I need to host a ball, get married, and start getting ready to rule this kingdom once he passes away. So very simple setup again, very Cinderella-y. And honestly, I'm very much enjoying this. I told you that I liked the writing style yesterday, and I really do. I really hope that this book can do it for me. So that's my update with that. I have been yapping. I know I've been yapping so much. This video needs to not be like 4 hours long. So let me spin the wheel and let's see how many pages we're going to read today. 120. Okay. So just 10 more pages than we read yesterday. Also, I just realized that I did my nails last night and they literally perfectly match the spinner wheel because I have these like pastel French tips that I did. I think it's very summery. I like it. Anyway, we've got reading to do. I've got editing to do. Let's get to reading. Okay, two quick things about this book. Number one, there is a sentence in here about Cameron from his point of view about his best friend that I thought was very interesting because it depicts our main guy character as a little bit like cocky and annoying, as if like his royalty status has gotten to his head. And I feel like it's quite early to like be giving flaws, but like also I appreciate that because characters are flawed. So his name is Cameron, his childhood best friend, but also I think servant or like hand guy, like the opposite of a handmaiden, anyway, is named Hazan. The prince assumed because they'd been acquainted since childhood that he knew all there was to know about his minister, and that had never once occurred to him that he might be wrong, that a subordinate might possess in his mind as many dimensions as his superior. So like they're close, they've always been together and they're friends, but Cameron has treated Hazan a little poorly so far in this book, like hurrying him all the time. Since this is told in like third person, we can kind of see a glimpse into Hazan's head and his thoughts that although Cameron understands him, he doesn't really think that he has the capacity to think or like he's as important as Cameron because he is less than Cameron in like hierarchy status. So that was interesting. And then after just telling you like literally a minute ago that Cameron and Elise had not met before, we literally see them meet for the first time, and now we're back to making the character Cameron good again. I don't know, because he's like head over heels for her. It reads from his kind of point of view. It says, he could not explain it. His body seemed anchored to hers. He drew closer by micrometers, propelled to do so by a force he could not hope to understand. What mere minutes ago might have struck him as lunacy now seemed to him essential, to know what it might be like to hold her, to breathe in the scent of her skin, to press his lips to her neck. He was scarcely aware of himself when he touched her, light as air, faint as fading memory, a stroke of his fingers against her lips. And then she vanished. Like, color me intrigued. Color me intrigued. I'm still trying to determine if I can film in my room. It is generally very dark and dim in here, but my books are in here and I like sitting and talking next to my bookshelf. By the way, if you missed my last reading vlog last week, I did an entire tour of how I set this all up. So if you want to go see that, I'll link it down below. But I wanted to yap for a second because I went shopping with one of my best friends today. And of course I got a book. I was debating between this book and Servant of the Earth. And I was actually going to pick up Servant of the Earth, but then I went to the checkout line and the lady was like, I saw you put down this book and I gave it 6 stars. I think you should do this one instead. I was like, you know what, girl? I trust your opinion. So what I ended up getting was Shield of Sparrows by Devney Perry. Now, first of all, this cover and edition is so stunning. The sprayed edges are so pretty. But Devney Perry writing fantasy is very confusing to me because she wrote the Juniper Hill series, which I never read, but I heard very things about. So seeing her pop out with a romantasy is very out of the blue. But I've heard incredible things about this book. Very classic romantasy. I think it's arranged marriage. Everyone is obsessing over it, and so did the person at the checkout line of the bookstore that I went to. So, girl, I'm taking your opinion. If you're watching this and you let me down, it's all your fault. I'm kidding. And now I have another book to add to my immediate TBR. But first we gotta finish This Woven Kingdom, and I'm halfway through and it's going really well. It's been a few days and I don't even remember the last thing I said to this camera, but I have finished This Woven Kingdom and I have some thoughts about it. So let's talk about my wrap up for this book. I think I left you guys off with like raving reviews that I loved this book. By the way, there is a lawnmower outside. I don't think it can be picked up on this microphone, but if it is, my apologies. Anyway, I left you guys with raving reviews on this book. Well, maybe not raving, but I was really enjoying this book. I thought the writing was gorgeous, and I still do stand by that the writing is gorgeous. And I don't think I mentioned this in the vlog, but I also think that this is a deeply romantic book. This is kind of the love at first sight insta-love type of trope. So if you're not into that, then maybe this one isn't for you. I don't mind that trope if it's done well. And I do think that the scenes of interaction between Cameron and Elise were really beautiful. We get clips from both of their POVs, and I really thought that they were just like adorably in love with each other. Like even on their like awkward encounters when they're just like, you know, frozen in shock when they're meeting each other, or when he's thinking about her, things like that. It's very beautiful, very sweet, and I really do like that about this so far. And also it's slow burn in the fact that all they've done is like hug, but that's also because at this point in the story, at the end of this 500 pages, they only actually interact about like 5 times. Like a lot of this book is outside of the romance, which is interesting because it is like a Cinderella retelling, but there is a lot of other parts that are going into this, and it took up, in my opinion, too much of the book, which is why after finishing, although I still agree with what I said earlier, I do have some qualms with it. One of it being the pacing. I think this book was 100 pages too long for what it was being a lot of background on politics and the kingdom with Cameron, and then magic and the life of the poor people, or the servant life with Elise. And we got a lot of, you know, not even side characters. There wasn't even a huge cast of characters in this. We just got a lot of scenes with them talking to other people or doing other things. And it's incredibly slow in that this book takes the course of like a couple days, really, like maybe a week. And we get a lot of inner monologue, a lot of thinking, a lot of repetition in some ways. Like this guy talks about, for example, how much he doesn't want to be king and not take up this kingdom, and he wants to live a different life, but this is the life that he has been given. He thinks that in his head and has like multiple paragraphs of that thought like 3 different times throughout this story. And I'm like, Mr. Haramafi, we remember when you said it the first time, like we don't need it to be repeated. And for that reason, although her writing is genuinely so beautiful, I really like the way that she writes. But if 65% of the book is just inner monologue and thoughts, and then there's only a small percentage that is the actual love interests meeting and interacting, and or a small percentage of like actual action, then the book seems very slow. Now I have heard that the second book is better than this and that it really picks up in book 2. I think this is a 4-book series and 3 of them are out so far, I believe. So I am going to continue the series, do not get me wrong. I do think that this has a lot of potential, but I think that the pacing was off. I think that there was a lot happening at the very end of the book that should have been kind of hinted at towards the beginning or explained a little more. I really do like the plot twist that we got, and a little bit of like, wait, who is on what side? And it wasn't by any means like a terrible book. I just think it was was a little too slow and I wanted more interaction. Not even like romantic interaction, but just like conversations between like Cameron and Elise or other characters. So that's my thoughts on this book. I'm giving it a 3.5 star, not a bad rating at all, and I will be continuing the series and getting the second book sometime soon. But that was This Woven Kingdom, and I did enjoy it, as you guys know. Much better than Silver Elite, which I am still standing on business in that I'm glad I DNF'd this book. This challenge for reading a certain amount of pages every single day was pretty fun. I think it challenged me to make sure I was reading consistently and getting through books faster. So I would definitely be interested in doing it again. If you want a part 2, just comment below, let me know. As always, subscribe. I post new reading vlogs on this channel or other book videos every single Thursday. And I also have a TikTok and Instagram that I've been posting on really consistently recently. They're both kind of new. So if you want to follow me on short form platforms over there, definitely go check those out. I love you so, so much, and I will see you next Thursday.